Are you tired of weak, watered-down coffee? Blackout coffee is bold, fresh, and roasted right here in Florida. Ship fast to all 50 states. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/scroll and use code SCROLL for 20% off your first order. Don't settle. Upgrade your coffee now. Hello and happy Monday to everyone. I am Hayley, Caronia. Welcome to Nightly Scroll. Wow, how was everyone's Thanksgiving? I feel like I haven't been here live in just a long-ass time. I missed everyone a lot, so it's good to be back. What do we have on the show tonight? Well, fraud and corruption have been exposed in Tampon Tim's, Minnesota, and the mainstream media only cares that Trump called him retarded because of it. So we're going to get into the whole thing. Also, an Afghan national that came here to seek asylum under the Biden administration shot 2 National Guard troops in D.C. on Wednesday. One has died. The other is still in critical condition. Also, Biden has reemerged to let people know that he's working hard to send more money to Ukraine. Can someone let him know that that's not necessary at all? Please don't do that. Stop working. Retire. Also, a woman has gone viral for proposing to her boyfriend of 14 years. I'm giving her a much-needed reality check. Put those phones on Do Not Disturb. Nightly Scroll starts now. The New York Times, they just ran an expose on Tim Walz and all the fraud that's happening right underneath his nose. And this is what they said: how fraud swamped Minnesota's social services system on Tim Walz's watch. And I just have to read you a few pieces of this article because they really didn't hold back. So they said, federal prosecutors charged dozens of people with felonies, accusing them of stealing hundreds of millions of dollars from a government program meant to keep children fed during the COVID-19 pandemic. We know this. We know that Democrats wanted to push the pandemic, milk it as long as they possibly could, because a lot of these Democrats were profiting off of it. And we're seeing this with someone in the Virginia House of Delegates. We're seeing this with another congresswoman. You know, these are Democrats. But again, it all makes sense why they were pushing this pandemic on us so hard. But in this case, there are Somali immigrants who were benefiting off of this fraud in this healthcare system in Minnesota. And this is what the New York Times said. Over the last 5 years, law enforcement officials say fraud took root in pockets of Minnesota's Somali diaspora as scores of individuals made small fortunes by setting up companies that billed state agencies for millions of dollars worth of social services that were never provided. Federal prosecutors, they have nabbed 59 people so far that have been convicted in those schemes, and they have stolen $1 billion in taxpayer dollars. I mean, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. So then the New York Times said this: critics of the Walz administration say that the fraud persisted partly because state officials were fearful of alienating the Somali community in Minnesota. Well, maybe we could have saved $1 billion in taxpayer dollars if they weren't so afraid of alienating the Somali community in Minnesota. I personally don't care about this. I don't think a lot of Americans care about this. This is why the America First movement has taken hold in the past few years. And recently, as it pertains to taxpayer dollars, funding foreign wars and funding free healthcare for illegals and hotel rooms for illegals and us outsourcing entire industries to our adversaries. Why are American politicians who were voted in by American citizens concerned about a community of Somalians? And they live here now. These are Somalians who live here now. So why are we pandering to them? Play by our rules. And if you don't want to play by our rules, get the hell out. Why is anyone placating to immigrants? They immigrated here for a reason. What we do here is good, better than where they came from. They left there to come here. So why are we taking pages out of the Somali playbook? I don't want America to look like Somalia. I don't want America to look like anything but America. Somalia isn't a world power for a reason. We are, though, and we should act like it. And if Somalians want to come over here and rip off our government and rip off the American taxpayer and turn it into Somalia, they should be sent far, far away from here. Now, the New York Times also said this. The episode has raised broader questions for some residents about the sustainability of Minnesota's Scandinavian-modeled system of robust safety net programs bankrolled by high taxes. Sounds like a freaking nightmare. That system helped create an environment that drew immigrants to the state over many decades, including tens of thousands of Somali refugees after their country descended into civil war in the 1990s. I don't know why liberals and progressives and these democratic socialists, they don't understand that the concept that America is great because we aren't those countries. America is great because we are not socialist. America is great because we are not Canada. We are not Denmark. You know, in Canada, you know, they have free healthcare. How's that going? How's that going in Canada? It's not going well. I can tell you this. I have a friend who's a dual citizen. She's Canadian and American. And she told me this story. We used to work together, and I never forgot it because, you know, you hear, wow, free healthcare. That sounds great, right? All the Democrat policies, they sound great on paper, and they're not. When they're implemented, they're not. They don't make any sense. And she was explaining to me that her dad had cancer, and thankfully, they had dual citizenship. Thankfully, his dad could come across to New York and get cancer treatment in New York. If he had to wait in Canada, well, it's up to Canada when he gets treated. He can't choose a doctor. He can't even pay more for the doctor that he wants. He doesn't decide when he gets treated or what kind of treatment. It's up to the government. So people in Canada are dying in waiting rooms, in hospital waiting rooms. They're dying while they're waiting to get care. And they can't pay to see the doctors that they want. So my friend was explaining to me that doctors get bribed. People pay them extra with iPhones and iPads and other gadgets and things. Like, please take me next. That's an awesome system. Sarcasm. Then they use Denmark as an example. These democratic socialists, like, well, you know, Denmark has low crime. You know, and in Denmark, they give their population whatever they want for free. They have free healthcare. They have all these socialized systems, not realizing that applying that to a country of our size doesn't work. Applying it to Minnesota doesn't even work, clearly, which has around the same population as Denmark, and it's not working here. Because our country is great because of freedom, of course. And if we want to give power back to the federal government to control every aspect of our lives, we no longer have choice. We don't pick our doctors. We don't pick our schools. We don't choose anything for ourselves, and the decisions are made for us, and we have to pay higher taxes for that lack of choice. So we become slaves to the government that is clearly corrupted, as we can see with this fraudulent scheme and then the other fraudulent schemes that took place because of COVID and PPP loans and all this stuff. And Democrats are the ones profiting off of it. Socialism has failed everywhere. Communism is a cancer, and democratic socialism is a dangerous social experiment that's being tested in Minnesota. It's failing, and it's about to be tested in New York City. Can't wait to see how that goes. Citizens are low man on the totem pole. Illegals run the show. That's America under the Democrats' view. And again, refugees, asylum seekers, whatever the liberals want to call it, they can call it. But they're people coming here from third world countries that have no respect for our country, our laws, our culture, and our way of life. And they don't care to assimilate. They only care, apparently, to rip off our government and steal from us. And Democrats have all this white guilt and self-hatred. They hand over the keys to the kingdom because, you know, they don't want anyone to call them racist. And look where that has gotten Democrats in Minnesota. So here is Governor Tim Walz defending this Somali takeover. Listen to this.
Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
It's not just Somalis, he said. Oh, great. So there are more immigrant communities that are stealing billions of dollars? Awesome. Then, of course, she makes the point there that they have stolen more than Minnesota uses for their Department of Corrections. And he's saying, like, well, don't worry, I'm putting all these people in jail. Okay. Seems to be working very well. It's also come to light that a Somalian convicted of this fraud was working as a community service officer for the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office in Minnesota. So don't worry, Tim Walz was taking very good care of these people under his watch. They were just fine. But this tweet has gone viral over the weekend, and this was from the Minnesota Staff Fraud Reporting Commentary group on X. And this is from the Department of, I think it was Health Services. And they have been sounding the alarm on this fraud for a while. And they had even said they were trying to tweet at Kamala Harris and other Democrats before the election, saying Tim Walz is basically a total fraud. And, you know, he's going on saying Tim Walz is 100% responsible for this fraud in Minnesota. We let Tim Walz know of the fraud early on, and they're accusing him of covering it up and retaliating against whistleblowers, among other things. And, you know, you can go on X and read this whole thing. It's a massive expose, basically, of all the ways that Tim Walz has failed in his state. And they're, you know, hoping that they can get help and attention from the federal government on this. And we already knew that the healthcare system in Minnesota was failing. They can't afford to give illegals all this health care. We knew that. The whole system's collapsing. And Democrats live under this fantasy that all immigration is good. All immigrants are coming here for a better life. That's not true. Republicans live in reality where not all immigration is productive. Not all immigration is legal. Not all immigrants are good people. Not all people deserve to come here. And not all countries should have access to ours. It's not racist, it's reality. And Democrats are opening up us to everything from, you know, bankrupting our systems, the healthcare systems, and stealing money from taxpayers. And they're also opening us up to terrorism. All because they're afraid of what it would look like if they actually had the balls to be real leaders and protect the homeland. Just a reminder, a very scary reminder, but like a bittersweet, hopeful reminder. Tim Walz could have been our vice president. This guy. All this fraud, illegals, Somali immigrants, running this fraudulent ring under his nose, and he's covering it up. That could have been our vice president. So I want to just thank everyone who voted for Trump right now. Thank you very much. And it could have been worse, by the way, because Tim Walz was going to be the number 2 with someone even more grossly incompetent as his boss. So thankfully, we have President Trump in charge who isn't afraid to tell it like it is. Here's what President Trump said on Truth Social on Thanksgiving. A very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all of our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with other certain foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration, he went on to say. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey, as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both. Just in part there. But the main part of this that I wanted to get to was, of course, the seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. And I'm proud. I'm proud of our president. I am. But the mainstream media, they are more concerned with the fact that Trump called him retarded than they are about a sitting governor covering up fraud. So then President Trump doubles down on this because, of course, he's all upset. The media is all upset about President Trump saying the word retarded because this News Nation reporter, you're going to hear like on Air Force One, it's a little muffled, but you're going to hear her say, some Americans, they find the word retarded to be whatever, offensive. And here's President Trump doubling down.
In that same post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
But you don't think
you have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
There's something wrong with him. And I just love this. I love it. If speech offends you, and again, this is someone, I'm sure she went to school for journalism and, the very, very cool experience to be on Air Force One asking the president questions. And then you have to say, the American people find this word offensive. Do you double down and then have the president look at you, that literally the president of the United States, and say, yeah, I'm doubling down on this. I don't care, essentially, what he's saying, that the American people find this offensive. I don't care. And honestly, if speech offends you, you need to regulate those emotions within yourself and stop trying to police the people around you to make you feel more uncomfortable. It's a you problem. If you don't like the word retarded, don't watch this show. If words bother you in general, don't watch my show. If you can't listen to an opinion that differs from yours, don't watch my show. If you get easily offended, please don't watch my show. Go find a safe space, but it's not on it's not here on this show. It's not on Nightly Scroll. I can tell you that much. Most importantly, if you can't have fun or take a joke, don't watch my show. I was on radio on Wednesday with Jim, and we were filling in for Vince, and we had a lot of fun. And we were talking about illegal immigration, and I believe the story that we were talking about was the illegal alien in Idaho that killed the 8-year-old girl. And I was, upset, but I was on the radio, so I know that I can't curse. So I called this guy an MFer. I didn't say it. I literally said MFer.
MFer, okay.
Because I'm on the radio. If it was on this show, I would say motherfucker, but I couldn't. Andy's in the chat. Annual MF bomb. But yeah, I'm on the radio. So I literally said MFer. And I had a woman email me saying that I should be better than the left. Like I shouldn't say MFer when I'm talking about a criminal illegal alien that killed an American citizen. I should be better than the left. Okay. MFer was the best I could come up with on the radio. There are a lot worse things that I would want to call this person.
Were you close to saying it?
No, I knew that I couldn't, so I didn't. Yeah.
Hard line on the radio.
That was me with a filter on. And I still got an email from someone saying that it, I don't get it. Someone took the time to email me. And then again, like me saying MFer, even if I said the whole word, right? I am better than the left. I find it insulting that she said I need to be better than the left. I am better than the left. The left assassinates people they disagree with. They firebomb Tesla charging stations. They assault women in locker rooms in the name of equality. Thank you for your concern, but even on my worst day, I am better than the left. Also, just a quick note, my email is out there for media requests. It is not for Shelley in Montana to tell me that she didn't agree with what I said. Just throwing that out there. That's why my email is out there. I don't need emails about, anytime I say that the moon landing wasn't real, I get a long email. I'm not reading that. I'm telling you right now, I'm not reading it. And especially if I get an email and if someone is being mean or they dislike, I stop reading. So I'm telling you, it's not going to get through to me. Just saying.
Well, I'm saying, Shelley's like, okay, well, a little bit, maybe I can understand the MFR thing more than the moon landing. I mean, you got a lot of reason to think we didn't go to the moon. Just saying. You know what I mean?
I mean, if President Trump today called the moon, I would say, wow, that's a technological feat that I didn't think was possible. I call my family in New York, and sometimes we have a bad signal.
I have a bad signal on my road where I live.
You're telling me that he just called the moon on a landline? Whatever. I'm crazy. But anyway, don't email me about it. Moral of the story. But yeah, I don't know. People also on X were saying, like President Trump was being mean to this reporter. And they were saying that President Trump is only mean to women, which is not true. If you remember Trump 1, he would get after it. He was so, like, Jim Acosta in his first term, that was like Trump's arch nemesis. He kicked him out of the White House press briefing room. Like, he is an equal opportunity journalist hater. And here's the latest. President Trump has snapped at a reporter again. I believe this is the same woman from News Nation that asked him about the retarded thing. So watch this.
News Nation, failing News Nation. News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
She nods her head.
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking at?
I have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So they're asking about his MRI that he got, and Trump said that, I don't know if it was my brain. I don't know if it was something else, and basically saying to this woman, you could use one too, because maybe her brain's not on straight. This is tame, And I just think it's so funny when he says, News Nation is failing. And this girl she's just taking it. I mean, she is nodding her head as the president is telling her, your network is failing. And she's like this.
What else is she going to do? You know what I mean? Like, how else do you respond to him?
I wouldn't nod in agreement. She's like this, like a bobblehead. Yeah. Again, she went to school for this. And President Trump is just... Anyway, I think it's funny that people are mad about Trump snapping back at reporters, but they weren't mad that Biden never took questions from reporters ever. And if he did, it was pre-planned, and he had his talking points, and he had his little note cards, and he probably had an earpiece in, and then they had staffers waiting in the wings to whisk Biden away if the questions got too hard. Remember, anytime Biden was at the podium, he would just do that turn away. He would just turn his back, and then all the reporters would be shouting and screaming, and, and he would just, I don't know, he'd be shaking hands with nobody over here, and then he'd be walking over here, and he'd do his little Roomba dance, and then, the staffers would just whisk him away. I will take a cogent president that snaps at reporters over a president that turns his back to the podium any day. Any day. All right, taking a quick break to tell you about the sponsors for tonight's show. Helix mattresses. As the weather cools down, we all start spending more time indoors, especially in our bedrooms. And there is one upgrade I'm so glad that I made, and it is my Helix mattress. I used to wake up with back pain, night sweats, and since switching to Helix, I sleep deeper. I sleep cooler and way more comfortably, making my busy schedule a lot more manageable. And with the holidays coming up, hosting means everyone's sleep matters. This is the perfect time to invest in better sleep for you and your guests. Upgrade your guest bedrooms. It's a nice thing to do. And Helix makes it easy with their sleep quiz that matches you to the perfect mattress based on your sleep style. So whether you're a side sleeper, you run hot at night, or you need extra support, Helix has a mattress that is built for you. Mine was delivered right to my door. It was super easy, free shipping, and you get 120 nights to try it risk-free. And it is the best mattress I've ever owned. I know the Bonginos have Helix mattresses. Justin has a Helix mattress. Andy, do you have one now? Not yet, he says. All right, well, use code Hayley.
Good point.
Helix has an exclusive offer for the homies. Go to helixsleep.com/Hayley for 27% off site-wide. That is helixsleep.com/Hayley for 27% off site-wide. Make sure you enter Nightly Scroll, the show name, into the post-purchase survey so that we know that we sent you. helixsleep.com/Hayley. Also want to tell you about Fatty 15. You know, I'm in the gym. I'm trying to lose a little weight now. I got to be on my best. I got to be feeling my best. Got to have my energy up. And if you are like me, you probably want to help find something that will make you feel younger, slow down aging. And I am excited to share with you guys C15 from Fatty 15. It is the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Van Watson discovered the benefits of C15 while working with the U.S. Navy. And based on studies, we know that when our cells don't have enough C15, they can age faster. I don't want to age faster. I want to age slower. I want to age in reverse. Fatty 15 can help repair and protect age-related damage to cells and help activate pathways in the body that help support our overall wellness. Fatty 15 is a science-backed, award-winning, 100% pure C15 supplement that comes in a gorgeous, reusable jar. I'm having so much more energy since Fatty 15 sent me some to try. I sleep fast. I sleep well. And it is really helping me get through long days. Fatty 15 is on a mission to help optimize your C15 levels and help support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. And you can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/scroll and using code SCROLL at checkout. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Well, unfortunately, we had some really horrific news last week, just before Thanksgiving, that an Afghan national shot 2 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C., just outside of the White House in that area. And here are the 2 victims. On the left, we have Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who remains hospitalized after that attack. Unfortunately, Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom has died from her injuries. And the suspected shooter is a 29-year-old, a military-aged Afghan national. And he came here under the Biden administration legally in September of 2021. That was under Operation Allies Welcome. That was when the Biden administration pulled out of Afghanistan. And this was their plan to evacuate and resettle Afghan nationals here in the United States. This is just another failure of the Biden administration when it comes to the Afghanistan withdrawal. We left terrorists, all of our military equipment, left behind a vacuum so the Taliban could retake over Afghanistan, and then we welcomed terrorists into our country. So he faces first-degree murder charges, 2 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed. And the Justice Department says that they intend to seek the death penalty. But I would like to throw it back to the Biden administration when then White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that there was nothing to worry about. When we had all these Afghans coming in here, we had absolutely nothing to worry about. They were all vetted. They were good dudes. Watch this.
There are, of course, concerns among lawmakers, experts who've tracked this. They're saying previous arrivals of large numbers of refugees from different parts of the world, inevitably there may be a small handful who are eventually deemed a security risk of some kind. What reassurances can you make about the screening process and the attempts to make sure that somebody like that doesn't make his or her way here.
I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process.
Okay, and well, she's not entirely wrong about this. He went through a background check process, but I guess the process wasn't so good. He applied for asylum in December of 2024. He went through the lawful immigration process through the Homeland Security Department, and he went through background checks, social media reviews, in-person interviews, had multiple in-person asylum meetings, and he was working with a caseworker. They had these caseworkers working with some of these members of Zero Unit. He was one of these Afghan nationals who were working with the United States military in Afghanistan. So when they withdrew from Afghanistan, they said, well, these people that have been helping us, they're going to be first on the list to come to the United States, because obviously when we pull out of here, they're going to be public enemy number one when it comes to the Taliban. The Taliban's going to want to kill them because they were helping the United States. So he was part of one of these Zero units, these national strike units, and apparently he was supposed to be extensively vetted. I mean, the CIA was working with these people. So then he comes to the United States under this program in the Biden administration, like welcome all allies under the Biden administration. And, you know, he passed his reviews with flying colors. He was granted asylum just this April in 2025, but he had been living here and working with a caseworker to help these people, you know, get jobs and find places to live and things like this. And apparently it was well documented with this caseworker that he was not providing for his family. He was kind of losing his mind a little bit, spending weeks on end, holed up in his dark bedroom. He wasn't speaking to his wife. He wasn't speaking to his kids. He was going through manic episodes for weeks at a time, even 2 weeks at a time, where he would just like take off in the family car. They didn't know where he was going, didn't know what he was doing. Then he would come back and try to make amends with this family. It seems to me like he was going through some kind of manic depressive episode, kind of like back and forth, bipolar, something like that. Certainly could have been experiencing some post-traumatic stress disorder from working with the military in Afghanistan. And this caseworker told CBS that no one in the government had ever reached out about these emails. So the caseworker that was assigned to him under the Biden administration, under this program, wasn't letting DHS know that he was going totally insane. DHS didn't ask. And under the Trump administration in April of 2025, they gave him asylum. They granted him asylum. Now, totally unrelated, a day before this attack, on Wednesday, so on Tuesday, another Afghan national who was released into the country through this same Biden administration Operation Allies Welcome was arrested for wanting to blow up a building in Fort Worth. And that whole plan was thwarted by DHS. So thankfully, we didn't have that attack. And then day later, 2 National Guard troops shot by an Afghan national. So clearly our government cannot properly vet these people. Maybe they say that they're vetting them, but they're not. There are people that are slipping through the cracks. But here's what the Trump administration is doing now. U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement put out this statement saying, effective immediately, processing of all immigration requests relating to Afghan nationals is stopped indefinitely, pending further review of security and vetting protocols. The protection and safety of our homeland and the American people remains our singular focus and mission. Great start. But maybe we should take a look at some of these other folks that came in under the Biden administration under this Operation All Allies Welcome. We need to make sure that these allies don't actually hate us. We need to make sure that these allies don't fall into some depressive, manic, crazy episode and go on a killing spree. And clearly, it's not just one instance. We saw this other attack was thwarted by DHS, thankfully, but that could have been a bombing in Fort Worth. Then, even after these migrants have killed members of the military, here is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett claiming that it's actually the Trump administration that is killing immigrants. Watch this.
Let me tell you something. I am here because this is truly life or death. We have an administration that is not only killing people, but is a dream killer right now. That is not the best of America. We are here because we care. I know so many people are frustrated and don't believe in politicians. But let me tell you that it takes real courage in this moment to stand up. And that is why we stand with and behind your mayor, because she knows what it is to be under attack by this administration. We understand that to be elected nowadays isn't just about service. It literally is life or death if you decide that you want to do what is right.
It's life or death, she says. Now, she's referring to the fact that people are dying in ICE custody. And this has been happening for years. It's unfortunate, but it's happening. Under Bush, 94 people died in ICE custody. Under Obama, 69 people died. Under Trump's first administration, 41 people died. Under Biden administration, 26 people died. And under the second Trump administration, 20 people have died. You know, obviously, I'm not advocating for immigrants to die in detention centers. That's awful. I don't want anyone to die. But clearly, this is happening because of, lack of access to medications, things like that. But also less people were detained under the Biden administration in general because they were being shipped off into the interior of the country on prepaid flights and into hotel rooms. So who knows what happened to them after that? So that's a low number under Biden. But again, they weren't deporting anyone. So they were just letting them run amok. So maybe they did die once they got to their, the sanctuary city of their choice. We don't know. But the best way to avoid dying in ICE custody is to come here legally, by the way. But Jasmine Crockett, she was also part of this Sunday show slop, I like to call it. Because I'm looking through my X feed yesterday and I'm like, it's video after video of just slop. So here's the first video. Here's Jasmine Crockett on the Sunday show saying that Trump should deport white supremacists. Listen to this.
Because if that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall immigrants have a lower crime committal rate than white supremacists. But we don't want to talk about that.
Really? You think that, first of all, I say this all the time, the left talks about white supremacists like it's this like boogeyman. They're all over the place. I've never seen one. I've never met one. I don't know what they're talking about. And I think if they were out there and they were committing all this crime, don't you think that I would hear about it? Has anyone in the chat heard about white supremacists carrying out a bunch of crimes, killing people? I don't know. I just, personally, I'm not seeing that. I am seeing a lot of crimes committed by illegal aliens, and also all illegal aliens have committed a crime just based on the fact that they're illegal aliens. Then they come here and then they reoffend or they do something else, which makes them a criminal again. But more white supremacists committing crimes. It's interesting. And, we're not supposed to deport people based on ideology. That also sets a very bad precedent. Even if people are white supremacists, they should just be deported. That's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope for sure. Speaking of this ideology, the left, they talk about white supremacy. They talk about, how all Republicans are Hitler and all this stuff. Katie Miller, who is Stephen Miller's wife, she was on this CNN panel and she was ripping Abby Phillip for calling her husband a white supremacist and a Nazi. Listen to this.
It's about whether someone like Tucker Carlson, who is a very powerful force in the conservative movement.
You host people on your show all the time who call my husband and myself a Nazi. So how is that any different from Tucker Carlson going on Nick Fuentes having Tucker Carlson on his show? It's not different.
He's actually
anti-Semitic. He's anti-Semite.
A Hitler admirer. Nick Fuentes is actually a Hitler
admirer. But he literally
admirer.
is not a good
That is a different thing.
Excuse me, you have Jennifer Welch on your show very often, and you've never pushed back as she has called my husband a white nationalist.
Hold on.
That is no different than Nick Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson's show. It's not, and you should admit it.
I love when Republicans go on this show and they just give her, a piece of their mind. And I'll get to this clip in a second. I just also want to remind people that Abby Phillip called Charlie Kirk a fascist on her show a day or two before Charlie Kirk was shot. So when these liberals talk about, words matter and all this stuff, all they want to do is censor conservatives. They want to censor who they deem to be white supremacists and bad speech and hate speech and all this stuff. They don't like when the rules are applied to them. They don't like to be held accountable when their speech is wrong or their speech maybe incites violence. So Abby Phillip on that same ass show said that Charlie Kirk was a fascist, and then 2 days later, he was shot in the neck. So just putting that out there. But Katie Miller, they're having a conversation about Tucker Carlson inviting Nick Fuentes on his show. And whatever you think about Nick Fuentes, you don't have to like him, you don't have to listen to him, whatever. It's a conversation, right? And by Tucker Carlson having Nick Fuentes on his show doesn't even mean that Tucker Carlson likes Nick Fuentes. They talked about their beef that they have with each other in the podcast episode. So it's not like, we should be having conversations, especially when someone like Nick Fuentes has the following that he does. You should want to know why. And that was the purpose of the interview. Tucker Carlson's like, I keep hearing this guy. He's like saying that I'm a Fed and all this stuff. Like, let me have a conversation with him. That's all that was what was happening. Then Abby Phillip saying like, this is so bad for Tucker Carlson to have Nick Fuentes on his show. It's really not. It's a conversation. Tucker Carlson, I think, has also interviewed like Putin and Kanye West and like all these people. And it's like journalists interview people that they also don't agree with. That's their job. Journalists interview sometimes good people, sometimes bad people. And it's about having a conversation. What Katie Miller was saying and putting Abby on the spot, and I appreciate it, is that when you don't shut people down, when you call people Hitler, there's no basis. There's no facts. You're just parroting these talking points. Republicans are not Hitler. Republicans are not fascist. Republicans are not dangerous. Republicans are not any of the things that they keep saying. So Katie Miller is making the argument that, Abby Phillip, how are you any different? You let people come on your show and lie about me and call me a white supremacist, and you say nothing. So you, like, the left and the far left and the far right are one and the same. CNN and Fox News Channel, one and the same. Different viewpoints, but it's the same thing. It's the same system.
Later on in that clip, it was funny to see Scott Jennings is actually mediating between Katie and Abby. It was funny to see Scott on that particular show turn into the referee.
Yeah. But anyway, so this next clip, Rosie O'Donnell, she's moved to Ireland to get away from Trump, but she can't stop talking about him. And Rosie O'Donnell has a daughter that she moved to Ireland with her, because Rosie O'Donnell's children are adults. And I believe this daughter is 23 years old. Her youngest daughter is 23 years old. But her daughter now goes by Clay and is non-binary. And Rosie O'Donnell was on with Jim Acosta. They look like the same person in this interview, but that's another thing that we'll get into. But she's talking to Jim Acosta about how her daughter is almost angry that they moved to Ireland because of Trump. Watch this.
Well, you know what? I have to tell you, I'll tell you the truth. My daughter is now saying, damn him, damn Trump, and smashing her hand on the table. And I said, wow, honey, what are you thinking? And she said, he made us move in order for our own safety. And it's now he's destroying the country. Listen,
Wow.
she lives here. She hears what I'm saying to you. Not that I go around speaking like this every day if it's not an interview, but I think to myself, you don't want to give this to her. Whatever this thing is.
So even the daughter is Trump deranged, of course, because it's Rosie O'Donnell's daughter, and Rosie O'Donnell can't stop talking about Trump. So of course, if you move your adult daughter to Ireland because Trump's so bad, she's going to believe that, well, Trump's so bad and my mom's doing the right thing by moving me away and he's destroying the country and all this stuff. I mean, it's just, this is a very impressionable person, and the way that she's talking about her, like banging her fists on the table, it's like very childlike. And I looked into this, and apparently Rosie O'Donnell's daughter, that is now non-binary and goes by Clay, is autistic. So I think that's also interesting too, that an adult who is autistic, and I don't know to which degree she is autistic. I don't know like where she is on the spectrum. But clearly this is someone who is not well. And it makes you think, like, why did she become non-binary? How did she fall into this narrative? And it's like, these are young, impressionable, and in this case, mentally unstable people who are falling into this narrative because it's pushed on them by adults around them. And Rosie O'Donnell's daughter, of course, is Trump deranged because she is. So when Rosie O'Donnell says that Trump is ruining the United States, we have to flee, the daughter believes it. It's really sad. But let's talk about, if you could pull up that clip again. I mean, Rosie O'Donnell and Jim Acosta are morphing into the same person. When people say, like, if you could go back in time and tell yourself something, 5 years ago, like, what would you tell? Like, this is like the visualization of that. Rosie O'Donnell on the right is Jim Acosta in 15 years? This is uncanny. They have the same glasses. It looks like Jim Acosta in 15 years.
It looked like Jim Acosta grew his hair out and started following the Grateful Dead. That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. If you could have a conversation with yourself, we're watching this. We're watching Jim Acosta have a conversation with himself. It's really wild. And it's the glasses. It's Keith Olbermann, Rachel Maddow. Like, they all have these same glasses. Joe Scarborough. Like, people talk about septum piercing ring theory. But we don't talk enough about these glasses. Those are a sign. Liberal delusion. All right, let's see this video. I was scrolling on TikTok. I know we're not in scrolling time just yet. We're going to get there soon. But some woman took a video of Biden. He's walking around wherever in Delaware or wherever he is. And people like to film him getting his ice cream and whatnot. And he, interacts with people. But here he is. Maybe these women are Ukrainian and they're talking to him. This is what the former president had to say. Watch.
I'm Tanya. Nice to meet you. I'm from Louis Virgin, from Sambir.
I've spent over a month. Thank you so much for your support of Ukraine. By the way, I keep pushing as hard as I can.
I know. Thank you so much.
Was Biden in Ukraine a month ago? Because that's what he just said in this video. He said, I've been to Ukraine. I was there about a month ago. Something tells me he wasn't. Did he go as president? I don't think he did. Nancy Pelosi went and some other politicians went. But can you look up if Biden went to Ukraine during his presidency? I don't know if he did. But it definitely wasn't a month ago. Unless that's where Biden is spending his retirement. Something tells me this is one of those stories that he just remembers. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas. The corn pop was feeling up my legs or whatever. He went one time. Okay, well, it wasn't a month ago. So, but he says, I was in Ukraine a month ago, and this is the best part. I keep pushing as hard as I can. For what? To send more money, resources, support, jets, military stuff,
Comatose.
supplies?
Comatose.
Don't. Stop working, Joe. Retire. Just let it go. Let it go. All right, let's look at these Christmas decorations. People are saying that, it's December 1st. And, this is where I stand on the show, and we've talked about this. Christmas starts after Thanksgiving. So now we're after Thanksgiving is full Christmas mode. And Melania Trump has been doing all the holiday stuff, right? The Christmas tree was delivered right before Thanksgiving. And now all the holiday decorations, all the Christmas decorations are up at the White House. And people were just reflecting on what the Christmas decorations look like now versus under the Biden administration. So take a look at this. And it's just this abrasive, childlike, wacky art school teacher type stuff on the left under the Biden administration. Just the crazy dancing and the overly, I don't know, these facial expressions are crazy. The dances, it's very juvenile. Then on the right, you see the Trump Christmas decorations, and it's just classic. It's classic. They have a gingerbread White House. It's gorgeous. There's Melania Trump. She looks gorgeous. It's the red and the green and the gold and the silver. It's what you think of when you think of Christmas. Not this like kitschy, crazy, wacky, zany stuff that's going on with Jill Biden.
That looked like a Willy Wonka.
I will
kind of
say
thing.
it was very Jill. That had Dr. Jill written all over it. Then Melania Trump comes in office and everything is just, it's classy, it's clean cut. It just looks good. It's classic. There's no frills. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. I love it. All right, let's get into some scrolling time over the weekend, but maybe I'll do that tomorrow. We'll get into that tomorrow. But this woman, she's apparently been dating her boyfriend for 14 years, and she was, I guess, confident enough to go on TikTok and tell people that she was planning to propose to him. Watch.
It's the end of the day. I'm getting ready to go in the shower, and it's finally hitting me that I'm proposing tomorrow to my boyfriend. And I know what everybody's gonna think, and I already know what everybody's gonna say, but honestly, I don't even care. I love him so much, and I know he loves me, and this is just something that I feel I have to do. I really want to get married. We've been together for 14 years already. He hasn't proposed. I know he wants to spend the rest of his life with me. He says it all the time. And we're in love, even after this long. So why not? And tomorrow I am also going to be asking his dad for his blessing. I'm super nervous. So please wish me luck.
Someone in the chat said good for her. No. I have full body shivers thinking about proposing to a man. No, that is ass backwards. Women do not get down on one knee and propose to the man that they've been dating. No, that is not how this works. This man does not even like this woman, by the way. He's clearly with her out of convenience and laziness. They've been together for 14 years and he never thought about proposing to her. Oh, I'm sure that he wants to spend the rest of my life with me. But he won't get a ring. He won't propose, won't get married, won't make it official. Ladies, stand up. What are we doing? And this is not the only woman on TikTok, by the way, that has proposed to her fiance, like her boyfriend, whatever. No. If you feel the need to propose to your boyfriend, he is a beta loser. But could you imagine being a man and being proposed to? Because this guy already doesn't like this girl. And I'm assuming. Or he doesn't see a future with her, or he's just like too lazy to get out. It's just he's getting everything that he wants and it's whatever. Could you imagine this girl that you're like with, she gets down on one knee in front of you with a ring, and you're sitting there like, I don't even want to spend the rest of my life. I guess I'll do it. I'd get the ick immediately. And this guy already probably has the ick as it is. Full body shivers. People in the chat were like, why did you scream? Hello? You think that girls should propose to guys? Someone in the chat said, Hayley, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not wrong. You're wrong. No. Totally crazy. If some dude will date you for 5+ years without proposing, and I'm not talking about like high school sweethearts. I'm not talking about like college. I'm talking if you were an adult. If you were an adult and you were dating for more than 5 years and he has not talked about proposing to you or anything like that, you're not even starting the conversations, that is not a man that you propose to. That is a boy that you walk away from. Men do not need that long to figure out if you're the one, or so I hear. 14 years? Come on. That's crazy. I mean, I know we're not supposed to judge, but like, you have to wonder what's going on here. Modern feminism has totally failed us all. First, the feminists like totally screwed us by giving us the opportunity to work, which I'm grateful for because I'm not married. So what would I be doing with my life? How would I pay my bills? I don't know. But imagine if we never had the option to work. Like first wave feminism never happened. We're all still housewives. Husbands are going home. That would be great. I'd be making a sourdough loaf right now. I'd have 5 kids at least. I'd be at home. I'd be in my divine feminine energy. I wouldn't be screaming into a microphone. Then feminists told you that you don't need a man. You can work. You can provide. And women happen to be great at multitasking. So women have been doing a really good job of being moms and working, which is the economic reality that we live in. Most people aren't, surviving and raising a family on one income. It's just out of necessity. So women started going to college, going to work, and they started outpacing men in college degrees and in the professional world. Then women look at their husbands who can't manage to put their socks in a hamper, or they ask you where to find the ketchup in the fridge, and they're thinking, well, you're not making my life any better. And this is because women are becoming more manly, not necessarily in how they look, but how they act. And men don't like that. Men don't want to feel emasculated by the women that they're with. And a lot of men are not as manly anymore. They're not providing, they're not leading physically, spiritually, etc. So men don't want to feel emasculated. They don't want to feel like beta losers. So why would you get into a relationship with a woman who's going to make you feel that way? This is why men are becoming incels. So they're resenting how manly women have become. Women are resenting what beta losers men have become. And now like everyone's trying to find love and date, but like we all want different things. Like it's not intersecting anymore. It's like going that way. So the societal expectations aren't reflecting biological reality. Biologically, men and women are supposed to want to be together, but society has thrown it all off. It's just not good. All right, let's end on this one last video. This is, well, it's not AI, but it's about the future of AI and what could happen if doctors start using AI, and it's just a little scary. Watch this.
Your sex reassignment surgery was successful.
Wait, you were supposed to remove my appendix.
You're absolutely right. Let's remove your appendix now.
Your sex change surgery went great. You were supposed to remove my appendix. You're so right. let's remove that too. I would be very scared if we live in a reality where doctors are using AI. But here's the thing. People are in medical school right now and they're using ChatGPT to get through. They're not looking up the stuff for themselves. They're Googling things. Kids are going to college, whether they're becoming doctors or lawyers or something else, and they're using ChatGPT. So AI is going to be fueling these people anyway. Hopefully not giving sex changes when they're supposed to be taking out appendix, though. So anyway, thank you for watching the show. Lots to get to tomorrow that I didn't get to tonight. So definitely stay tuned tomorrow. And you can follow me on social media at Hayley Caronia, HayleyCaronia. I'm on X. I'm on Truth Social. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. And of course, rumble.com/Hayley. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you send this link to a friend. And I appreciate all of you. See you tomorrow.